All right, shalom, Israel. All right, shalom. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua B'Gatham to the brothers, and shalom, Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'ashem Yahushua to the sisters. All right, this is the we are in the feast of Purim. All right, for some of y'all that may not know, all right, and may not been aware, but we are in the feast of Purim. All right, and Purim is something very, very important to understand and realize. The feast of Purim is a memorial service. So it's not a Sabbath service or nothing like that. It's a memorial service, and it's to give honor to the sister Esther. All right, in the Bible. And so if you guys are aware, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe all this. But give me 1 second so I'll be able to let's make that live. Let's make that live on Facebook real quick. Mhm. All right, here we go. All right, so tonight's class, all right, is in honor of the sister Esther. All right, and what the sister did was so powerful for the nation of Israel, and it's something that needs to be spoken about a lot. A lot of if you are, if you're a sister that's trying to come into the truth, and you're really, and you're a sister that's really trying to, follow the Lord the way the Lord wants us to follow, the way the Lord wants us to follow Him. You may want to take pointers from the sisters in the Bible. Like what you don't want to do is to take pointers from sisters in the world. All right, those sisters that are Christian in the Christian church, they don't really understand what it means to be a real woman of God that's really willing to make the proper sacrifices to serve the Lord the way the Lord is supposed to be served. You understand? They don't have those resources. They don't have that information in the Christian church. This information can be found here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, like it is found in the Bible. You understand? Shalom to the brothers out there coming in, and shalom to the sisters out there. All right, this is about Esther. Esther did something so amazing for the nation of Israel, and it has to be spoken about, and it has to be taught to the point where it's a memorial service for what she did. You understand? She saved the nation of Israel. You understand? For the actions, all right, that she had. All right. And let's look at the characteristics that this sister had, man, that a lot of sisters in the Christian church absolutely miss. All right. A lot of those sisters in the Christian church, they swear up and down that they're like Esther. Oh, well, I'm like Esther in the Bible, or I'm like Deborah in the Bible. And in reality, they're far, they're very, very far away from from Esther or Deborah in the Bible. You understand? A lot of these sisters out here, they expect so much for so little. You understand? They expect so much for so little. And you can thank the Christian church for that. You can thank our oppressor for that. They expect so much for little, and it's absolutely horrible. You understand? It's like it's very destructive. Like that spirit of entitlement that sisters now have on them is horrible. You understand? It's horrible. And this, and of course, brothers have that same entitlement spirit too, which is absolutely horrible. Like that Christian spirit on brothers and sisters is absolutely horrible. Horrible. It's it's horrendous. I can't even explain how terrible it really is. But we're going to get into the history of Esther, all right, and see what Esther is really about. So the Feast of Purim, all right, is about a sister, all right, and her name is Esther, and we're gonna go ahead and get it, all right. Does anybody have any questions before I get into the lesson? Anybody have any questions? One second. All right, so lucky about that. Con. Okay, so we're gonna start from Esther chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, even in 107 and 20 provinces. All right. And so does anybody know who Ahasuerus is in the Bible? Does anybody know who Ahasuerus is? Who is Ahasuerus in the Bible? Do you guys know? Is anybody aware of Ahasuerus? Anybody know who Ahasuerus is? Let's see who knows. Who is Ahasuerus in the Bible? Is anybody aware? If you don't know, it's fine. All right. If you don't know who Ahasuerus is, that's fine. Okay, but Ahasuerus was a Persian king. This is Xerxes. All right, this is supposed to this is Xerxes. All right, Ahasuerus. All right, is referring to Xerxes. All right, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia over 107 and 20 provinces. So he was over a bunch of provinces. All right, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace. So this is where his kingdom was. All right, was it in Shushan? This is what his palace was. Like Ahasuerus, he was, which is Xerxes. All right, this is the Persian king Xerxes in the movie 300, but it was based off of actual historic events. Even though it's like a fictional movie, those majority of those people, like those were based off of true events that happened in history. And Ahasuerus is referring to Xerxes. All right, and he ruled, he was in power. Verse 3, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. All right, so you have the Persian and Medes Empire. All right, you have the Persian and Medes Empire. This was the beginning, or not the beginning, but this was a part of the Persian and Medes Empire. All right, let's see. Hold on, let me see. Before I go any further, where does it say? I just want to make sure it doesn't happen in 12. Okay, okay, good. Okay, good. I'm at the right spot. All right. In the year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia in Media. All right, the power of Persia in Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. All right, verse 4, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom in the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 104 score days. So around 300, even 140 days, right? There was just an honor of how glorious this kingdom was. All right. Now, this is Xerxes. This is talking about Xerxes. All right, the Persian and Medes Empire. Verse 5, these days were expired. The king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, Salaki, the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. So he made a giant feast for all the provinces to come together and to feast for these 7 days. All right, verse 6, where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings, and pillars of marble. So this is giving you a depiction how rich and wealthy this place looks. Right? These are colors that represent royalty. These are colors that represent rich. All right. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And so this was like a very beautiful sight. So imagine this palace and in this garden, all this other stuff. This is what you're looking at. This is a very beautiful place. It's very nice. It's very rich. Like imagine going into some rich, fancy ball right now, some big, huge palace. Like you would be amazed. All right. If you go somewhere in the Middle East, if you this is based off the Middle East area. Like this is talking about Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. Like these were the kingdoms in power during this time. All right. And so, the kingdoms in power at this time, like those provinces, that some of the provinces that the Lord was just bringing out in Esther chapter 1 all the way down to 6, like it was Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Iran, Iraq. Like these were the nations or the provinces in power, just to give you an idea of the location of where we are. And so this was the Persian and Medes Empire. If you don't know the Persian and Medes, these are just your East Indians. Right? These will be your so-called East Indians today. They were your Persians and Medes. All right, they're your Pakistanians, your Bangladesh, India, all right, Iran, Iraq. Of course, now Iran and Iraq is full of Muslims now, of Arabs, but some of those people out there are actually East Indian. All right, I believe Pakistan separated from India, I believe, but it's still part. It's not. Pakistan is known to be Muslim now, but Pakistan's people are actually East Indian, which would be the so-called nation of Elam. All right, in the Bible, well, Elam in the Bible, verse 7, and they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance according to the state of the king. So this was a very rich place. This was a very rich area, Salakia. Very rich. Like, think about it. This is very, very rich. All right. Verse 8. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. So, according to their law, do what you would like. It was always a nation outside of the nation, outside of the race, right? The law was their laws were always to do what makes you feel good, what makes you feel whatever influenced the law. That's why it says they should do according to every man's pleasure. So whatever you wanted to do, whatever you felt was right, whatever made you feel good, if smoking weed and getting high and having sex with whores and prostitutes, pornography is your pleasure, do as you will. Like, this is what the other nations believed in. Like, this is why Christianity is so evil, because the religion of Christianity has failed. The religion of Christianity, of course, in the Bible, right? No thing, no life based on pleasure, on what makes them feel good. You understand? Evil, because it's not. All right. If you want to have sex with hoes, enjoy. Smoke weed and get high, enjoy. If you want to rape and molest and do all kinds of stuff and be into pedophilia and be some, and be some, LGBT cat, what I'm saying, some rainbow community cat, enjoy. Because that's what the other nations believed in. That's what they wanted to do. All right. And because of Christianity isn't about what the Lord wants you to do. Christianity is more so what you want to do. And that's really the bottom line of how evil Christianity really is. All right. Let's keep going though. Verse 9. Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus. And so Vashti, she was the wife, all right, of Ahasuerus. And also during this time of the celebrations and the feast and the drinking and to any man's pleasure, meaning who knows what's going on in that palace. Of course, knowing that this is a bunch of nations, all right, even though this is a bunch of nations going on, right? Like, this is how evil this place is. Give me 1 second. And so you have also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus. And so now King Ahasuerus, now remember, King Ahasuerus is Xerxes. All right, this is talking about Xerxes. Xerxes was the king of Persia. All right, during this time, if anybody remembers the movie 300, I remember, Leonidas and the 300 Roman or Greek soldiers, whatever they were. All right, and does anybody remember when um you have to watch the movie? All right, you have to watch the movie, but let me see if I can look it up for y'all. Let's see. Let me see if I can look it up for y'all real quick. Does anybody remember? Can everybody see the screen? Do y'all remember the movie 300? Does that guy on the screen look familiar to y'all? Let me know if that looks familiar to you. Does that guy look familiar in the movie 300, Xerxes? Right? Of course, the movie is, Hollywood in the movie 300, right? But he actually existed. And so we transliterated his name into Ahasuerus. All right? That's just Hebrew for Xerxes. All right, that's how we would say Xerxes, but in the Hebrew. All right, Ahasuerus. Of course, that's the English Hebrew way to say it, Ahasuerus. All right, but that's Xerxes. That's what this is who we're talking about right now. All right, I believe either this is Xerxes or either his like this is his descendants right here, Ahasuerus. All right, this is the Persian and Medes right here. This is who we're talking about. If y'all remember the movie. All right. Of course, they got what Xerxes would actually look like, all that good stuff. And I believe if we go, let's see, I believe if we go to here, there we go. Y'all see that? Y'all see how it says, titled the king of Persia, probably Xerxes, because Xerxes was known throughout history to be the king of Persia. All right. Like this is why it's so important to study and to read. All right. So just to let you guys know that we're just not making this up. This is historical evidence. Like this is why it's so important to realize that the Bible is real. All right. These are real recorded events happening. Like everyone talks about, you ever heard those crazy nuts out there? Oh, the Bible is not real, it's just made up with a bunch of stories. Those kind of people never actually read the Bible. They're only regurgitating and saying exactly what some other crazy nut said, talking about the Bible isn't real and a bunch of made up stories. That's so far from the truth. All right. This is real. All right. This is real. This is a record. All right. You want to pay attention to these records. But let's get back into it though. All right. Let's get back into it real quick. And so Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus, which is talking about Xerxes. And Vashti is the wife of Xerxes at this time. Esther chapter 1 verse 10. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine. So of course it's a big feast. Who knows what's going on in there? Probably a bunch of orgies, whatever, because it's according to men's pleasure. Like that was the law. The law during this time for the Persian and Medes was to do whatever the hell you want. If you want to have sex with kids, enjoy. Want to have sex with men, even though you're a man, enjoy. If you're a woman and you want to have sex with women, enjoy. Like, whatever the hell you wanted is what you wanted to get. If you wanted to drug somebody so you can have sex with them, enjoy. like this was the customs of the nations and races of people outside of the nation of Israel. Like this is what they believed in. They believed in following what their body wants, and they are filthy, vile, disgusting human beings. You understand? That's why it's important to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. Because once the world is filled with this, once the earth, so like you, once the earth is filled with such blasphemy and such abomination, it's like the whole land is destroyed. The whole land has fallen to whoredom. Like you never want to really allow your land to fall to whoredom. If you go into the black community, right? If you go into the trenches, and you go into the ghetto, and you go into the hoods of America where blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans live, that's the outcome from allowing our land to become to whoredom, to fall into whoredom. You understand? Like that's what happens when it says to prostitute not thy daughter in the Bible. Lest the land fall to lest the land fall to whoredom. Well, go into the black community and see what it lest it fall to whoredom looks like. You'll see a bunch of shootings and child molestation. That's what happens. You understand? A bunch of shootings, a bunch of gang fightings, a bunch of licks and drive-bys, a bunch of steppers, a bunch of drugs and coke being sold. Like that's what happens when lest the land fall to whoredom. Like this is what happens when you prostitute thy daughter. This is what happens when you teach your daughters how not to be a woman like Esther. You understand? To be a woman like Deborah in the Bible. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Muhammad, Bista, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, and Zathar, and Kokus, the seven chamberlains that served in the presence of our Soros the king. All right, so those were like his officers. All right, like those were the people that are in charge that were under him. All right. Now keep in mind, this is taking place like in the India, Iran, Iraq, Bangladesh, like all those areas. Like this is where all of this is being taken place at. All right. In Esther chapter 1, verse 11, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal. All right. Now, of course, this ain't talking about no, the crown royal. All right, the royal crown, no liquor. All right, this is not what it's talking about. All right, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, meaning just to bring him to the crown, to bring her to the king. All right, the king ordered Vashti to come here to him, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. All right, because the heathens were known to parade their women. If your woman was beautiful and you had a beautiful wife or whatever the case may be, right? It was the nations, it was the heathens, it was their culture, right? It was their way of life to parade their women's beauty. Like this is where whoredom starts. Like this is where harlotry and being a slut and just being an attention whore comes from. It comes from the heathens. All right. Heathens taught their women to be paraded to be paraded if they had beauty. All right. And they would parade their beauty any way possible. That's why when you look at, if you go into history and you've seen a beautiful woman in the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, whatever they considered beautiful to their people, the Persians, whatever, you would see her dressed very provocatively, right? And she was very fair to look upon. And even though she was someone's woman, and even though she was someone's wife, all right, all the men would be looking at her and wanting to have sex with her. And then, of course, if you watch some of those movies, some of those men do end up having sex with this beautiful woman that's married, and the king finds out and he kills the brother or he kills whoever it is. Am I saying anything like, let me know if I'm saying anything that y'all don't know. Y'all seen movies like that, right? Of the heathens of doing something like that. Y'all let me know if y'all seen a movie like that before. Y'all let me know. Yes or no. Y'all seen a movie like that before where you see their women, all right, the heathen women, and they're dressing very provocatively with a bunch of jewelry, and they're being, and of course they're being paraded around for their beauty, all right, and all the men of the land are looking at her like, "Ooh, I want to have sex with that." but that's the king's wife, that's the king's woman, and then one of those men do end up having sex, and the king finds out, and now the dude's being hung at the gallows, or being burnt to death at a stake. Y'all heard of this before? Y'all let me know. Y'all probably heard this before. Maybe y'all have. Maybe not. Maybe I just don't know. Con. Right. 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 So y'all have seen this before. Exactly. Here we go. But yeah, this is what happens. Like this is where all of this comes from. It comes from heathen. That's why the Lord told us to separate from the heathens. That's why the Lord wanted us to be separate, because how they live life is not a life you want to live. You understand? It was never meant for our women to be paraded like that. This is why you have a bunch of what a lot. Listen, some of those. Who was that woman? Who was that woman back in the not back in the day, but Steph Curry's wife. Even though listen, Steph Curry, a good looking brother, basketball star, absolute athlete. He's rich, but his wife wanted like attention from other men. Like, right, oh, her name is right, Ayesha. Right, Ayesha. I think Ayesha Curry or something like that. Ridiculous. You understand? But this comes from the culture and the philosophies from another race of people. You understand? And it's right here, right? To show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. So she was a beautiful woman. She was probably courageous, beautiful face, all of that. He wanted to show her off. In Israel, we don't show our women off. If anything, we did listen. If it was up to me, all right. If it was up to me, all right. If I had a wife, she would be locked away somewhere to never be seen ever, and she'll be in the house all day long, taking care of kids and making me dinner. Salakia. The only time she would leave the house is grocery shopping. That's a joke. I'm just kidding. All right, it's just a joke. All right, but in Israel, the point is in Israel, we don't show off our women like that. All right, even though there were, of course, our women are very beautiful. Go out, listen, go into the black community. There's plenty of beautiful black women out there, beautiful black women everywhere. All right, but it was never our culture to parade them around, so they can eventually become attention whores, and then eventually just become a whore. All right. All that attention from men eventually become actual men sleeping with this woman. Does everybody understand? That's the step. That's the step before the whore. The step that comes before being a whore is a bunch of men giving her attention. There's a bunch of men giving her attention. Stop giving these sisters attention. All right. Leave them alone. All right. Don't be all up in their face talking about you beautiful and all this, and she got 18, 19 brothers down her throat. Cut all of that out. All right, just cut all of that out. All right, because the more it happens, the more you're going to realize why it should not happen. All right, y'all gonna get real angry one day. All right, I'm not gonna go into detail, but I mean because that's not the topic for tonight. All right, we're gonna talk about Esther tonight. Okay, but we're not going to talk about all that. Esther chapter 1, verse 12. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. All right, so like it, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. The chamberlains, like, high ranking person in the government, all right? Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned him. So Vashti, right? She refused, all right? She refused to follow the orders of the king or to follow the orders of her husband. All right. And so we were now, and just like any man, how dare you not follow my orders? How dare you not do what I tell you to do? You right? Like this is a serious issue. This is a serious problem, right? Let's go on. Let's go on to say, verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment. And so the king said to the wise men, which knew the times. So we're about to see what the king actually says. Verse 14, this is what the king says. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Maris, Marcina, all right, Marcena, and Memucan, the seven princes of Persia and Media. So these were the princes, all right? These were the wise men, they were the ones in charge, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom, all right? Because they were high in power, they were the princes. And this is what is being said, verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law, because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? So now, this is just more than not listening to your husband, all right? Your husband is now in a position of power in this case, right? And this is how the heathens operate, all right? So think about how, okay, I'm not going to say the heathens operate like this. Oh, okay, well, I take that back. Let me just take that back, all right? And let me go on with it. How can I say this? Okay, she didn't just not listen to her husband because she's the queen to the king, right? So that's her husband. She also didn't listen to the king. You get my point? So so you didn't just listen to your husband. You refused your husband, and then on top of that, you refused the king. It's just not looking good for Queen Vashti at this point, right? Let's continue. Verse 16, and Memucan answered before the king, and the princess Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, right? So, and Memucan answered before the king and the princess, Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only. So she didn't just do wrong to the king. Not only did she do wrong to the king, but also to all the princes, right? And to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king, Ahasuerus. Now, somebody break that down. Y'all let me know. How did she not done wrong to the king only, but to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus? How did she do wrong to all of them? She didn't just do the king wrong, but she done the princes wrong and the entire people. How did she do so? Y'all let me know. How did she do everybody wrong just then? Y'all let me know. How did she do everybody wrong? And I'm gonna continue reading. The scripture will let you know too, but just see who would know. Verse 17, for this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. Like, this is how serious it is for a woman, right? This is how serious it is for a woman to listen to her husband. It's a perfect precept, a perfect analogy, even though this is the heathen, all right? But this is something serious. If you are a sister that believes in the Most High and believes in God, you want to carry yourself a proper way, all right? You do not want to be openly disrespectful or to be disrespectful at all. You want to show absolute complete obedience to your husband, to whoever your man is. You understand? Like, this is what is necessary to do so. That is your duty as a woman, is to show absolute obedience and absolute submissiveness to your husband so everyone can see it. You know why? Because there's other women watching you. There are other women watching you be obedient and to be submitful. Now, if you're a woman that's loudmouth, all right, and you talk far too much, you're just absolutely just, you don't listen to nobody. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know those kind of sisters out there that just don't listen to nobody. I can do what I want. This is my body. I can do what I want with it. This is my mouth. You can't tell me what to do. I'm grown. I'm grown. I'm grown. And all this other type of stuff. There are other women watching you, and they're going to learn from you. And this is what happened in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. A bunch of women have watched other women talking about, I'm grown, I can do what I want, this is my mouth, you can't tell me what to do. Now you have a bunch of sisters in the next generation saying the very same thing and doing the very same thing. And then years down the line, it becomes a normality. It's damn near now accepted. But these heathens knew for this act of the queen to do such a thing, this is going to cause other women to believe they cannot listen to their husband. And God forbid, I'm going to come home and you think you Queen Vashti and you cannot do what the hell I tell you to do. Absolutely not. Like this was the spirit of it all. You understand? This is the spirit of it all. And it's so important to have that order that the Lord set up too as well. Like the Lord set up that order of a man being over a woman, the husband being over the wife submit to the husband. All right. That was something very important that the Lord expressed over and over and over again. All right. So that they shall despise their husbands and their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him. Right. But she came not. Right. So this was the event. Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. Like this is going to cause contempt and wrath throughout the entire land. A bunch of men and princes that have wives, these wives are no longer going to listen to them. That possibility is out there. So something has to be done about this. This is what they're discussing. Something has to be done about this. Esther chapter 1, verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. All right. Now, this is what the heathen practiced. The heathen practice of once you don't listen to me, we're getting rid of you. All right. And we're going to give everything to some other woman. All right. The Lord does not believe in that. All right. Yes, as a woman, you are to be obedient. You are to submit. You are to listen to the man above you. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, brothers, if you have a sister that does not listen to you and that's not as obedient as the rest and does not know how to submit, you cannot throw her away. That is not a good reason to throw a woman away because she doesn't listen to you. All right. You should have never married her. All right. You should have never laid down with her. You should have never had sex with her. All right. You should have knew that she doesn't listen. She probably there were probably plenty of signs that the sister just does not listen, but you chose to marry her anyway. All right. That's on you, brother. Now you got to deal with that sister for the rest of your life, and just understand that that sister just ain't gonna listen to you, Rock. Don't waste your breath. Don't go blue in the face. All right. But you for sure cannot throw her away. You have to keep her as a wife, regardless if she doesn't listen to you or not. Now, sis, just because he cannot throw you away, that does not mean you be as evil as you can be to your husband. All right? Don't do that. Don't make your husband's life a living hell because he can't throw you away. Don't do that. What you want to do is learn how to be a good wife, all right? And to listen and to be obedient, all right? Communication is everything. All right. All those good things are what makes a marriage marriage. All right. Of course, if any of y'all in need of marriage counseling, of course y'all can call the school. All right. Because we actually care about marriages back here. We're not like the heathen where if you do something wrong, we throw you away and we get another woman. Like that was a heathen practice. That's why today is practiced. Heathen have always practiced throwing away their women, having orgies, having all kinds of unlawful sex, homosexual sex, lesbian sex, all orgies, threesomes, all of that. That was the heathen's culture. One of the heathen's culture was to throw away women, just like here, and replace them. All right. That was the heathen's culture, but that was never what the Israelites did. You were never supposed to just leave your woman to get another. That's not in the Bible. You're never supposed to do such a thing. All right. Let's continue. Esther chapter 1, verse 20. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. Let me know why. So why does it say all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small? What does it mean to great and small? Somebody break that down for me. Preferably a sister. This is about the sisters right here. We're about to get into Esther now, soon. But what does this all mean? Somebody break this down. After this, we're gonna go to we're gonna look up the editions of Esther. But let's get that real quick. Okay. Okay, those are good answers. No matter his position, give honor. Great, a person of renown or position, and small, a person that may be what you would call an average Joe, regular citizen. Okay, okay, okay. So those are all good answers. Y'all pretty much are correct. Like that's what that scripture is saying. Let me go back because it's not on the screen because we're about to get into the actual story of Esther. I'm gonna ask y'all what y'all know about Esther in a bit. All right. It says, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both great and small, meaning no matter what your husband is. All right. I'm gonna go into greater detail. All right. We teach that sex is marriage. All right. We teach that sex is marriage. So meaning if you open up your legs to a brother, that is your husband. Brother, if you you do whatever with that sister and you lay down and have sex with that sister, that's your wife. And so for the sisters out there, this is what this is saying. Regardless if your man, right? Because I'm bringing in today's topics and issues. Let's say you opened your legs up to a brother that works at McDonald's and he's only getting paid minimum wage. You still have to honor that brother because that's your husband. If that man has no job at all and he pays no bills and he's just in that house, all right, and whatever it is, you still give honor to that brother. I know some of that may I know some of y'all sisters might be hurt for me saying that, but I understand. Nor do I care. All right. Nor do I care. All right. But that's just what it is. If you opened your leg up to this brother, you opened your legs to a brother that may not have a job and he has absolutely nothing, and he had nothing to contribute, quote unquote, financially in that house, but you still had sex with him. Well, you're supposed to give honor to him, great or small. In this case, he's small. You still give honor to him. You understand? That is still your man. That is still your head. You guys get the point? Some of y'all might disagree. I understand. And I don't care if you disagree. Actually, I don't give a goddamn if you disagree. But this is what the Lord is saying right here in the Bible. This is something that the heathens put into play. All right? But the Lord understands that right there. Because that's just what it is. No matter what, you're supposed to submit to your husband. That's the Lord says that. No matter what. It never said in the Bible, Khan, big quote unquote Salaki, big boy, can you put your name, city, and state for attendance, Baba Kusha? The Lord never said the stipulation to be obedient to your man was, or to your husband was, that he had a job, a 9 to 5, and he can financially support you. The Lord never said that. The Lord said at face value, you submit to that man and you obey that man. That's that. Got nothing to do with how much he makes. Got nothing to do if he has a job or not. Once you decided to open your legs up to this man, all right, that's your man. Now, of course, if you're the kind of sister that's going out there and purposely looking for a man that for money, then you might want to look at yourself. You might want to look at look at your character. All right, you're a sister that's out there, and you're looking for, in particular, a man that can financially support you, and you only all the other time. You might want to take a look at your character. All right, if something, you know, every sister may have their their likes and dislikes or whatever they want, whatever the case may be. But if you're a sister out there and you're trying to, you're basing your husband, or you're basing the man that you want based off his financial intake or income, and then you might want to take a look at yourself. Me personally, if a man is working at McDonald's, all right, if a man is working at McDonald's and he's working those 8-hour shifts every day, he's still working. All right, regardless if it's minimum wage or not, he's still working. He's still trying to do something with his life. All right. He may not be able to bring in a bunch of money like some lawyer or some doctor, but he's bringing in something. All right. You still got to give honor to that brother, regardless of how much money he makes. But because some of y'all sisters are taught to be money whores and to chase after income, all right, instead of actually building something with a brother that actually has, something worth giving, which is which is probably better than money. Well, y'all get the point. Society destroyed the minds of our women, destroyed the minds of our sisters. All right. I'm not saying income doesn't matter. I'm not saying money doesn't matter, but it's the least that you need to worry about in this society at this point. All right. If you got a good brother that works at McDonald's, he's a good head on his shoulders. He knows how to lead. He knows how to make good decisions. All right. He's a strong brother. You might want to give that brother a chance, because that lawyer that you want and that doctor that you want, that's with all the money, he may not be such a good leader. He may not be as strong and militant, all right, that you need him to be in order to protect you and guide you and lead you. All right. He just has money and he's smart, quote unquote. He knows how to read a book and study and cite sources. All right. And all that good stuff. That's all he knows. And that's all he'll ever know. All right. Khan, big boy, Salakia, if you can for me, just put your name, city, and state into the live chat, and then I'll be able to get to your questions out. All right. All right. But at face value, I mean, nobody to say this nicely, whoever you are, um no no one cares about the Talmud. No one gives a damn about the Talmud. All right. The Talmud is forget about it. There's a dispute in the Talmud if Esther was beautiful or not. Who gives a damn about what the Talmud says? Who gives a damn about what the Talmud talks about Esther? Who gives a goddamn? All right. You may want to, it was Esther. I mean, just think about it for yourself, Ak. Was Esther beautiful to you? If the Bible says Esther was beautiful, then it's beautiful. Yeah, Khan. Yeah, Khan. Just what you want to do out there, Ak. Forget about the Talmud, Ak. Forget about the Talmud. All right. You might be reading too many books. That might be your problem, Ak. Too much reading ain't the best, Ak. All right. Forget about the Talmud. The Talmud is not biblical at all. The Talmud is not of the Lord. So who cares about what it says about Esther? All right. If you do enough research, you'll figure out that the Talmud is nothing to worry about. All right. So enjoy the rest of your day, Ak. All right. All right. So let's get into. We're gonna go into Esther. Okay. So lock it. All right. Esther chapter 10. Well, let's get 11. We're going to start at verse 2. So we're going to get into Esther. So before we get into Esther, how many of y'all, no sweat out. You're welcome. So before we get into it, what do y'all know about Esther so far? Y'all let me know while I read, all right? What do y'all know about Esther so far? In Esther chapter 11, verse 2, in the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great. So now remember, that same Ahasuerus, right, is talking about It's talking about Xerxes. In this case, Artaxerxes, the Great. In the first day of the month, all right, it's like in the first day of the month of Nisan, which is referring to the month. Mordecai, or Mordecai in this way, it's Greek, but Mordecai, the son, the son of Jairus, the son of Shammai, the son of Sasai, of the tribe of Benjamin. All right, the tribe of Benjamin had a dream. Verse 3, who is a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa. All right, a great man, being a secretary in the king's court. All right, so this is talking about Mordecai. All right, this Mordecai, all right, was over Esther at this time. All right, Mordecai, I believe that was her uncle. So Mordecai was the uncle of Esther. All right, and so to give you a backdrop for time's sake, all right, Esther, because she was a beautiful woman, all right, and she was fair to look upon, like the Bible says, all right, that the Lord says, the king wanted her to be his wife, all right, and so out of all the women, he chose her to be his wife, and etc. etc. All right, and of course, this is not something she wanted to do, but this is just what she did. All right, so now, verse 4. He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon carried from Jerusalem, which Jeconiah king of Judea, and this was his dream. So Mordecai was also during the time of Nebuchadnezzar that carried the Israelites from Jerusalem, all right, out of Judea and all of that. Like he lived during that time, all right. Verse 5. Behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. So this is a dream that Mordecai had. All right, this dream is what Mordecai had. Verse 6. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight. So you had two dragons. Now keep in mind, remember these dragons. All right, I want y'all to remember these dragons. If y'all remember the story of Esther, how many of y'all kind of remember the story of Esther? Does anybody kind of remember the story of Esther, of what Esther did? Of course, we're going to get into it a little bit tonight. But what did Esther actually do? Can anybody tell me that before I continue with this breakdown right here? What did Esther actually do when it comes to Israel? What did she do? Well, what was the kind of the story of Esther? If y'all can briefly sum it up for me. But let's continue reading. All right. Verse 7. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they may fight against the righteous people. Verse 8. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. So now there's going to be great darkness, obscurity, like there's a bunch of just bad stuff happening. All right, in this dream that Mordecai is having, there's just this terrible stuff happening. Verse 9. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. All right. Verse 10. Then they cried unto God, and upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, was made a great flood, even much water. All right. So this cry, this is a dream. All right. This dream is going to be explained. All right. Where I'm going to get you the precept to understand this dream. So when you're reading this, you'll know, okay, this is where this comes from. Verse 11, the light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. All right. Verse 12, now when Mordecai, who had seen this dream and what God had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night by all means was desirous to know it. So he was wondering what this dream was. All right. So we're going to go to chapter 10. And we're going to okay, yeah, man, Kenny. Been a while, she married king and was able to save the Jews in the land land rough. Right, Khan. Roughly, that is what Esther did. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Okay, so Esther did save the nation of Israel. That is true. Let's see. So in Esther chapter 10, verse 4, all right, then Mordecai said, God have done these things. Verse 5, for I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof have failed. So now Mordecai is about to explain this dream, and everything that happened in this dream, nothing there have failed. Meaning everything that happened in this dream happened in real life. Verse 6, a little fountain became a river, and there was light, and the sun, and much water. So remember in the dream, there was a fountain, it was a little fountain became a river, and there was a light, and the sun, and much water. The river, that little fountain became a river, that river is Esther, all right, who the king married and made queen, because the king of Sorus found that she was beautiful, and the king married her, all right. Now, for some of y'all fake Israelites out there, this is not approving of interracial marriaging. All right, this was not a way. You cannot teach this to say, oh, well, the Lord is okay with interracial marriaging. The Lord is not okay with interracial marriaging. This was a well according plan to make sure the nation of Israel was saved. None of y'all are having sex with white women to save Israel. All right, you're just having sex with white women because you have a disgusting lust. All right, that's all. That's just that. You're chasing white tail because you just want white tail. It has nothing to do with saving Israel. All right, nothing whatsoever. But moving on, moving on. And the two dragons are I and Ammon. Now it says Ammon, but in Hammon. Does anybody remember the thing between Hammon? Does anybody know who Hammon was? Does anybody remember who Hammon was? What was so significant about Hammon? Do y'all remember? Do you guys remember Hammon? Let's get it. This is who Hammon is. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agite. Do you guys remember who a Agite is? Comes from Amalek. All right, let's get it. Where's Agagir? There we go, Agagir. So you have an Agite. I will overtop said of Haman. Haman the Agite should tell you Amalek. There we go. Amalekite. All right. So if you were a Agite, all right, you came from Amalek. All right, you came from Amalek. You're a descendant of Amalek. That's who that is. All right. Just to let y'all know. and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So King Asuerus, he set up this Amalekite above everyone. Right? He put this white man in charge of everyone. Right? The so-called Jewish, that we the so-called Jewish man today. All right. Verse 2, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman. For the king had so commanded concerning Mordecai bowed not, nor did reference him. Right? Now Mordecai, he said, no, I'm not going to reference him. I'm not going to bow down to him. Does anybody know why? Right? Does anybody know why not Haman, why Mordecai would not bow down to someone that's from Amalek? Can anybody tell me why Mordecai would not bow down to someone from Amalek? Anybody tell me? Give young man Kenny a hand. Amalek did not allow us to pass through their lands, and we flee from Egypt if not wrong. That give him a hand, because he's right there. But what else did Amalek do? You're in the right area. But what else did Amalek do to Israel that Mordecai would not bow down to Amalek? There's something that Amalek did to Israel. It's why Mordecai, all right, that Mordecai would not bow down to him nor reverence him. All right. Mordecai had some integrity. All right. Mordecai cared about his history. He cared about his race of people. Y'all let me know. Anybody else? For time's sake, I'll let you guys know. So, young man Kenny, you were right there. What Amalek did to Israel was they attacked us from behind. All right. They attacked us from behind. So the way Israel would be traveling, you had all the old and the young in the back, while you had the strong soldiers and warriors up front. And what Amalek did was attack us from behind and killed, all right, the old and the young and all of that. All right, that's what happened. Amalek killed us came from behind and killed us. All right. And so of course, this is why the Lord gave an order to King Saul to wipe out Amalek. That's why the Lord said to King Saul to wipe out Amalek, because Amalek attacked us from beyond and murdered our people. All right. This is why. So this is why. So now Mordecai, he remembers these events. He remember, not when I say remembers, he wasn't there, but this is what he was taught. This is how he grew up. He grew up knowing Amalek. We don't get down with Amalek. All right. So this is why Mordecai, right? That's why it said, for the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Esther chapter 3, verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandments? Right? The king, he asked, like, why do you transgress the king's commandment? Verse 4. Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. So because he was a Jew, right, they were like, oh, okay, let's see if this is going to stand. Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And so now Haman was full of wrath when he saw Mordecai, this Jew, that did not bow down to him. Because now remember, our oppressor hates us completely, despises us completely. Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. And so now, verse 6 is the real issue right here. This is what it is right here. Haman. The problem with Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews. All right? It ain't now, of course. All right, this is why before, now, of course, Esther was already married to the king because he took he took Esther to be his wife. Now, of course, for time's sake, right? Esther did everything that Mordecai said to do, of course. All right, and by doing so, she saved Israel. So the point of Esther, right, of making these sacrifices that she did, you understand? She did a whole lot for the nation of Israel because this is something that she did not want to do. All right, I believe. Let me get that scripture because I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. But there's a scripture. Is it in? I want to say it's in. Is it Esther chapter 13? There's a scripture. One second. Maybe it's Esther chapter 5. They done. So like it, bear with me. Something that Esther said. It's definitely the additions of Esther. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. So like it. I think it's something with the sites. They hold on. Does it start at 9? I think I know what it is. So like it. Bear with me. Right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this where it's at? There we go. Salakia. All right. It's Esther chapter 5, but it's really 14. I believe this is it right here. All right. So this is Esther, right? I want to be able to get this before I end out the class on what Esther was actually talking about here. And so Queen Esther also being in fear of death resorted unto the Lord. Verse 2, and laid away her glorious apparel. Like so she laid away her glorious apparel and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, right? Because she was upset. She was mourning because now this whole situation going on, Haman wants to kill all the Jews. You understand? And instead of propitious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung. So ashes and feces, dung meaning feces. So animal feces and ashes she put on all over her head. Some of y'all sisters say y'all Esther, but I want to know for some of y'all sisters out there, would you cover your head with some dung and feces for the Lord? I don't think so. I don't think some of y'all sisters can't even go outside without a wig on. All right. God forbid you put feces and dung in your hair. God forbid that, right? And she humbled her body greatly, and all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair. So her hair was torn up. Verse 3, and she prayed unto the Lord power of Israel, saying, O my Lord, thou only art our king, because the Lord was our king. Help me, desolate woman, which have no helper but thee. All right, so she's praying unto the Lord, for my danger is in my hand. All right, because the danger of the people are in the hands of Esther right now. Verse 5, from my youth up I have heard in the tribe of my family that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors for a perpetual inheritance, and thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them. So she was raised on hearing this of what the Lord did for the nation of Israel. All right. Verse 6, and now we have sinned before thee. Therefore hast thou given us into the hands of our enemies. So Esther knows because we sinned against the Lord is why we're under the Persian and Medes Empire right now. Because we sinned against the Lord. Verse 7, because we worship their gods, our Lord, thou art righteous. Because this is why. Because we had a big issue even today of worshiping gods outside God of the Bible. Verse 8, nevertheless, it satisfies them not that we are in bitter captivity, but they have stricken hands with their idols, right? So it satisfies them not that we are in bitter captivity, but they have stricken hands with their idols, meaning we are in captivity, but they don't give a damn. Verse 9, that they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth hast ordained, and destroy thy inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and quench the glory of thy house and of thine altar. So because of what this is going on, like if this doesn't get corrected, Haman is going to destroy all the Jews, and we're no longer going to be a nation, even though there's a nation that still serves the Lord, which is the Jews. Some of the Jews are still serving the Lord and doing what they're supposed to do. Verse 10, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth the praises of the idols, and to magnify a fleshly claim forever. This is the problem with Israel. All right, we chose to serve man over the Most High. All right, a fleshly king over the king, being the Most High being our king in sense of an authority to us. All right. Verse 11, O Lord, give not thy scepter unto them that be nothing, and let them not laugh at our fall, but turn their device upon themselves, and make him an example that hath begun this against us. So this is the prayer of Esther. She is asking the Lord to destroy our enemies. Like that's what's going on right here. Verse 12, remember, O Lord, make thyself known in time of our affliction, and give me boldness, O King of the nations, O Lord of all power. So this is the prayer of Esther. Verse 13, give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us, that there may be an end of him, and all of that are like men that are minded to him. That lion is talking about turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us. That line is referring to Xerxes, all right, Ahasuerus. Verse 14, but deliver us from thine hand, and help me that am desolate, and which have no other helper but thee. Verse 15, that thou knowest all things, O Lord, thou knowest, they know, it's like it, thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, and of all the heathen. I want y'all to read this very quick. Esther said, thou knowest all things, O Lord, thou knowest that I hate the glory of the unrighteous. She hates the glory that the unrighteous get. You understand? Like that power, you understand? And abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, because these other nations are uncircumcised. They're not circumcised like the Jews. She hates she hates having sex with the king. She hates being with King Ahasuerus. She absolutely despises it. That's why it says, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised and all of the heathen. Verse 16, thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon mine head, in the days wherein I sow myself, and that I abhor it is as menstruous rage, and that I wear it not when I am private by myself. So she's absolutely angry. You understand? She's Esther is angry. All right. She hates the fact that she's in the position she has to be in. She just completely despises it. You understand? But Esther, you know, Esther, she stood strong. All right. She listened to Mordecai. She did everything that Mordecai said to do, and she stood strong. And now here we are. You understand? We still exist as a people because Esther made the necessary sacrifice. All right. At a timely fashion to listen to Mordecai to make sure all the Jews get saved. Like this was the prayer of Esther. All right. Esther was praying to the Lord to give her the strength and the power to make sure everything is done properly that Mordecai is telling her to do so she can save all the Jews from being wiped out from Ammon. All right. Of course, by doing so, for time's sake, to give you the breakdown, right? Esther goes up to King Ahasuerus and explains that if Haman kills all the Jews, I am a Jew as well, and I would be killed. And of course, since Ahasuerus loves Esther and he's infatuated with Esther, all right, he ain't letting that happen. And so that angered the king, And so instead of the Jews being killed, all right, instead of the Jews being wiped out because of Haman, Haman instead gets hung and killed, and his family and everyone that was involved. Everyone that was involved with Haman and who was on the Haman side, every last one of them, family, children, they were all killed. They were all killed off by the king. All right. Anybody have any questions? All right. All right. With that, Israel, Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Brakathum to the brothers, and Shalom, Yahweh Shamar, Allah Son, Ba'ashem, Yahushua to the sisters. All right. Shalom.